Welcome everybody to the 5.8 patch notes review. This is going to be called the Lord of Darkness. It is because we have a new god. I will not go over that god because I haven't had the time and I don't really care. All I care about the items and the current gods for their changes and what makes it relevant, what makes it not relevant, and we'll go from there. First, Warrior's Blessing when it started the season, it had the 10 protections plus everything else it had. It was just underused, and it just didn't have a place. So they buffed it to when you evolve it, you get 15 protections instead of 10, and everybody started picking it up in solo lane. Now they reverted that change because people have realized, hey, this is actually pretty good to get it stacked, and instead of focusing on wave clear. So I think you'll still see it. You could possibly see Guardian's Blessing on certain gods that can't clear a wave. Like, for whatever reason, you might want to pick an Ares for a counter matchup. Maybe you'll see this on gods like Bacchus that can't fully clear a wave. Maybe early on like a Sobek that, yeah, he can clear it with 2 abilities at a certain point, but it'll help you get to the early stages and really get you the extra gold over time, and that's really what you want. But I still think this will be the primary pickup, and I don't think that's a big deal. Soul Reaver. Last patch, it was a price reduction from 2750 to 2650 and a power increase, and then it was in every single build. So Hi-Res doesn't like items being in every single build. So they took the price and increased it back to the original price. I think this does nothing. You're still going to see a 3rd or 4th in the item build for that massive power spike. So, whatever. Stonefall. When purchased, Stonefall provides powerful anti-burst defense. However, at high gold cost, a long cooldown on the effect, and high trigger threshold, it became a very risky pickup that could put you behind, reworking the passive to trigger most reliably against multiple ability bursts while lowering the cost to make it more affordable as a defensive pickup. First, I'll go over this. Decrease the cost from 2500 to 2300. Its new passive is that anytime you'd be dealt 20% of your maximum health by a single magical ability, that damage instead is reduced by 10%, so that damage that would do 20% or more would be just having 10% taken off. So if you did 30, it was down to 20. If you did 20, it's down to 10. And it now has no cooldown, which is huge. The problem is there's so much power. If I remember correctly, hold on, I just want to make sure I'm right before I say this. Yeah, 70 power, 40 protection, 10 cooldown. Why do you want to build this? I mean, maybe you want to build it on a magical jungle who's getting wrecked by like a Hebo. But this was designed for like Scylla ult, Kukulkan ult, stuff like that can just take you out instantly. And it never found a place because those gods have been irrelevant for the most part of the season. Raw seeing some play, but yeah, whatever. The fact that it's been changed the way it has, this is like a Janus nerf if this gets picked up, because instead of hitting you for 900 or 800, it's going to hit you for 700 or 600. And while it still might be on a 6-second cooldown for Janus, that's still less damage you're taking over time. I can think about Hebo and all the damage that he brings to the table. Anybody that can do a lot of damage really quickly to you with a low cooldown. This will be very effective against this. Oni Hunter's Garb. Now, if you've watched the First Blood podcast featuring myself and the Boondoggler, you'll know that we talked about this item and why you would never build it, and that you would build Pestilence, Genjis, and a whole bunch of other items before you even considered buying this item, even if those items are more expensive. Oni Hunter's Garb had an all-or-nothing passive. Yeah, and that sucks. Making its use very restrictive. We have redesigned it to provide smaller amounts of damage mitigation for every enemy god, up to 3 around the area. I think it's a 55 unit. Yes, 55 units. This lets it reach a similar amount of strength as the old passive, which was 5% total mitigation, but it can still contribute with only 1 or 2 gods. So, you can stack it up to 3 times, depending on how many people are around you within 55 units. It used to be 3, you had to have 3, and then you would gain 5% damage mitigation. Now, if you have 1 person, it's 2%. If there's 2 people within there, that's 4%. And then if they are 3 or more, then you do get the 6% mitigation. I still think it's nice. I think it's a lot better, but it's probably not going to be picked up still unless you're really ahead in solo or something like that. I don't know. We'll move on. I think it's better. I just don't know how good it is. Achilles nerf, thank God. Basically, decreased the scaling from 80 to 70% on his 1. On the outer cone, the cone that does not stun. That's the best way to describe that, I guess. And then combat dodge, you're decreasing the damage from 65 to 225 to 55 to 215. So that's 10 damage per rank. Well, that's a double nerf if you think about it. If you're gonna consistently land combat dodge, you're gonna get the 2 procs. Then you're losing 20 damage per hit, or 20 damage for the ability, 10 per hit. So that is pretty big. He's still gonna be super strong. Don't get me wrong on that. But I'm glad they did some sort of nerf. I do think that we may see something else in the future, potentially, maybe not. I want to see how this goes. Aphrodite, I love this change. First of all, I love this character. She's fun, but she doesn't really do a lot because of the high cooldown on the 1. Now, instead of being 3 seconds when you attach it to somebody, now it's 1 second, and I love this. So if one teammate needs a heal and you kiss them and you press 3, and then somebody is being CC'd to death and they're all going to die, you can then instantly, almost 1 second away, just 1 second, kiss them and then pop your ultimate or your back off, whatever's needed for the situation. You now have more ways to support somebody, and this is huge. That is huge. I think she'll see more. I think she'll see a little bit more play. Not how, I don't know about how much, but this is a huge change in my opinion. This is the best thing they could have done for Afro. She has plenty of damage. She has plenty of peel in her kit between the 2, the ultimate and the stun. So I think this is a great change. So Guan Yu gets a huge change, and get ready to see him a lot more. He's hardly been seen for a while now, unless you just really liked playing Guan Yu. I'm not going to read this huge big thing. Basically, the 3rd hit of Guan Yu's attack chain is now a cleave, so similar to Kamazot's or gods like that that do have a cleave, but they also have 2 normal attacks, auto attacks prior to that. So that's pretty cool. The last hit of Guan Yu's hit chain has been increased from 12 damage to 16 damage, so that last hit now hits harder. The first 2 hits of Guan Yu's hit chain have been remain unchanged. Okay, so basically they gave him more wave clear with these changes. That's pretty cool. I already liked this guy and took a call it a long time ago because of the protection seal and the ability to just heal up all the damage, but this is great. Also, the biggest thing to me in this patch, other than this, I think this patch is about Guan in my opinion. Painless. Stacks now only reset when you're out of combat, rather than being consumed with a single ability. So you get your passive stacked up, right? You got the 20 stacks that's required. You can get the insane slow on your dash. You can get the extra protection seal on your Tallow Assault. You can get that huge stun duration on your ultimate, and then you can just heal all the damage you took before that. You can get that easy 300 damage 300 heal late game like that. This is huge. I think Guan's going to see a lot more play than what he has been seeing, and I actually might play it more myself. I never played this character because I always thought it was like it was too much to do. You had to make a decision. Do you want to slow them? Do you want to play for the ultimate and get the stun? Um, are you low and you need that heal? You had so many decisions, but now I think this makes him a lot more viable. But I do at the same time don't like it because they're dumbing the game down to where, oh, you can just do anything you want. And I think hard gods are okay, and that needs to be a thing. But it's not my game. I just love to play it. Khepri seeing a damage and root duration buff on his 3. They were saying because it was lower than other Guardians' damage late game, and I just wanted to buff it. I don't know. I don't think this is relevant because you typically want to. I prefer to max the dash after the 2 because you get the longer pull duration, which means they can't use an abilities. All they can do is auto attack you, unless they use this purification beads to get out. I think it's a good change for him late game, but I don't think it really matters, to be honest with you. Now this is huge. Kappa. Basically, Kuzenbo's passive is for every instance of damage you get a mitigation buff of 1%. Now it's back up to 1.5, which means in the long term, after 10 times of you taking damage, you're going to be increasing your mitigation to 15% instead of the 10%. So it's like Spirit Road when you get CC'd, except for this is passive. I think that's a pretty nice change. It makes him a little more viable for all that damage reduction. And then you get Shell Spikes change, decrease the magical deflection from 10 to 30, so you get 5 per rank, and then decrease the mana 50 at all ranks. And now this is the biggest change, I think. This ability now decreases the cooldown of Sumo Slam, and it already did the Nene Kappa. I don't remember how much it does it by, but that's pretty big. Getting cooldowns in any kind of ability always helps. So we'll see how it turns out for Kuzenbo. Nemesis. Man, leave my Nemesis alone, man. Nemesis has been seeing nerfs because she's been so strong throughout the season. And she has been prioritized almost all year. So I understand why they want to keep nerfing her to make others more relevant and take her out of the picture. But they decreased the slice and dice damage from 50 to 170 to 10 to 160. That doesn't look like much, right? But you have to remember, the center of slice and dice does double damage. Meaning at level 1, your most damaging ability is actually going to be your dash. Because you apply 50 damage per. And I'm considering starting that way, but I'll just have to test this on PTS, which they said should be live this weekend. I'm guessing Friday or Saturday. Maybe Friday night, probably. It's usually about when it's ready. But this is big because now you're going to have 2 or 3 extra auto attacks to finish clearing. And she can't quite get that early pressure quite as much as she was getting. But she's still a strong character, but I don't think you'll see her because of this change. Terra got a crazy buff last patch. So, before she got the changes at the end of last season, I think it was towards October, maybe November, her 3 was originally a root and a slow, and it would take 3 hits to knock down the monolith. Well, they took it away, and they made it to where you had to get 5 basic attacks on the monolith to take it down. They just reverted that. So, because they have the slow and the stun, and the slow and the root back on his character for monolith, they decrease it down to 3, because why not? You just want to prevent that CC coming your way. And Terra's much more fun this way anyway. When she was originally released, I loved playing this character in support, and I'm glad that she's got her control back, but I think this change is great. They also decreased her mitigation amplification from Earthen from 10% of each to 50% of each. A 20% swing is obviously going to be huge. I don't know why they didn't just make it a mitigation or an amplification, But either way, they've nerfed it by a total of 10%. 100% fine with this. I think this puts her in line. I think she's strong, but not like super strong. I think she is definitely a viable character still. Thor, I don't know when the last time Thor got a change, except for the beginning of the season. Then decreased his Berserker's Rage from 13 seconds to 11 seconds, but still, whatever. They increased his clearing on his one only to minions by 50 to 80% on the return. So I think level 1, rank 1, level 1, I think this does 100 damage if you hit both on, maybe not, I don't remember 100%. That's on the gods. I think early game this was doing 75 to 80 damage. And now they've increased it to 80% on the return. So 80% of 50 would be 30. No, 40. So now what they've done is given him another 15 damage at level 1. And of course it's going to be more as you rank the ability up. But that's a good change because he struggles clearing the jungle. I haven't seen him that much for a while. And I hope this helps him come back. I think it will, because he's not been played. He's a very fun god, and we'll see. I think this will help him a lot. I think he'll be top 3, top 4 jungler again, just because of this change and the Nemesis change. Vimana. Basically, I'm just gonna dumb this down for you. Anything that's not his ultimate got 20 mana cost reduction at all ranks, basically. Or they made it to where it only costed the same as the beginning. Like, for instance, Clear the Path, which is his dash, went from 70 to 90 to 70. Well, it's the same as the first rank. But the last two were 60 to 100. Now they're 60 to 80, so he lost 20 mana on the... He gained... They took off 20 mana for each of those. So this is 60 mana that he's saving now, because if you went into lane, you're like, man, I've got a 1 level lead on this guy. I want to do as much damage to him before he hits level 4, and I'm level 4 already. He's probably 2 or 3 creeps from hitting level 3. You wanted to like poke him and really hurt them as much as you could, right? But then you'd have no mana, even with a blue buff on, and you're just like, man, I really want to back to base and just teleport back in, but I don't have the gold to finish my boots, or I don't really want to have to do that. So this is big. This is really big. I think this is well needed. I love Vimana as a character. I think late game he doesn't do a whole lot in the solo lane role. I love him in the jungle because of the damage he brings to the table and his flexibility and his build. I think these are great changes, and I want to see those stay this way. I think maybe in a couple patches, if he's doing extremely well, they might take away some of the damage, but we'll see. We'll see where it goes. And the last change will be Gibalanque. I actually forgot about this change. This is probably the best change, actually, in this whole patch for this god. So his old passive was, if you killed somebody, you gained 5 power for that kill. It maxed up, I think, to 30 or 40 extra damage. Now, what happens is you get that extra power after you get 1,000 damage. So you get that extra damage online throughout the game. And a lot easier than being this very, very risky god, to where, man, if you were against the X-Ball and he got 2 kills, it was GG, man. Game was over. But if X-Ball didn't get any kills, if he was getting behind, he was the easiest target in the world. Now I think this makes him more balanced, and it actually makes me want to try him, even though ADC is my worst role. And they decrease the 20 mana off his Rising Jaguar dash. But I want to see how this goes, because he's been played a little bit, and his late game is nasty. But I think this will help him in the mid game once he gets that damage on. I think he'll be good to go. But thank you everybody for stopping by. I really appreciate you coming. Let me know what you think of the patch notes. Let me know how I'm doing. If there's anything you would change, if there's anything you want to see more of, if you want anything more in depth, or maybe I'm rambling a little too long about something. Feel free to let me know. I love doing these kind of things and theory crafting. So let me know what you think. Thank you for stopping by, and have a great day.